Welcome to a new episode of the cut content of Half-Life. Today we are going to take a look at something cut from the very first Half-Life game that shaped the style of the entire series: third-person cutscenes. The Half-Life franchise is known for not ripping away the player's control for cutscenes unless it is not doable in any other way, like situations where the protagonist is incapacitated in one form or the other. An example of this would be the wounded Adrian Shepard laying on the ground observing a fight in the beginning of Half-Life Opposing Force. Normally you are free to move and look around and explore your surroundings even when something important is taking place. During the development of Half-Life, they were however thinking of implementing real cutscenes. Regarding cutscenes, here's a quote from Mark Laidlaw. "Gabe had a radical new idea like that every 15 minutes, especially when it was way too late to implement. Remember how he said that moss will grow in real time? Keep in mind, originally we planned the game with cutscenes, along with the in-game scripted sequences. We thought for sure we would cut away to dynamic views of cool stuff happening. I vaguely recall we thought we were going to see the capture sequence as if we were watching through a security cam. But around that time we realized that we didn't have a decent model for the character. That we'd have to do a version with a lab coat and a version with the HEV suit. All kinds of complications that meant we'd need a bunch more time to do cutscenes. At that point we realized that we might as well commit to 100% no cutscenes and see if we could figure out how to do the whole game without them. This was really late in the process. Once we gave up on cinematics, we found our real strength in doing it all in first person. So trade-offs often lead to this sort of discovery. The decision to remove cutscenes was made really late in the development process, as animations for the scene Laidlaw mentioned can be found in the Half-Life Day 1 demo, a non-public demo often bundled up with graphics cards. The previously mentioned scene would take place in the last few moments of the chapter Apprehension. As the player enters a room following a fight with assassins, the screen goes black and the protagonist is being ambushed. The next thing we see is the first-person cutscene of being dragged away by two soldiers, then followed by waking up in a trash compactor. By the way, the dragging scene can be observed in the ending of Half-Life Blueshift.
I'm taking this Freeman guy. Topside for questioning. What the hell for? We got him. Let's kill him now. And if they find the body? Body? What body?
When taking a look at the unused animations from the Day 1 demo, we can recreate what the developers originally had in mind for the capture sequence, at least to some extent, the whole scene being observed from a security camera's point of view and so on. It could have looked somewhat like this. The soldiers dropping down on Gordon and him being thrown onto the ground before being dragged away is pretty brutal. The grunts go at him with a significant amount of force. A pretty cool scene for a game this old. Sadly, these animations were never used. I personally think that this takedown scene could have looked pretty cool in the ending of Blueshift as well, even maybe a bit better than the dragging scene. Side note, note the cut sergeant model. This is a type of enemy that was completely cut from Half-Life. Ultimately, I think Laidlaw is right. Not using third-person cutscenes made Half-Life better, because taking away the player's control should always be kept to a minimum. So that's it for this episode of the cut content of Half-Life. I hope you found this demonstration of unused scenes and ideas interesting. Thank you to the loyal supporters on Patreon, who of course got to see this video first. So, see you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.